Oh, well,
Somebody would be alone.
Yeah.
You can tell you, I don't know, it's right, I mean, it's, there was like, I mean, it's so big. It's just for that, oh, well. You can get like us.
So the $1,000, so really that has filters that are pretty easy.
Yeah.
33,
Yeah.
so really we only.
Yeah.
put that
Yeah.
in.
That's the.
yeah, unless you are.
Oh, guess I thought we were.
Yeah.
There's
so
much. That's
That's the trend.
That's what I thought.
Same
budget.
Yeah.
All budget.
Don't want to be transparent, like, oh, you will.
So really, yeah,
Yeah, what do we give up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's 2,500 because of.
But we're doing
No, it's one for equipment. That's very hard. Yeah.
Good evening, staff, fellow council members, community members. I'd like to welcome you to our second budget meeting on April 3rd, 2024 at 5 p.m. This meeting is being held at 39 South Shore Road in Lake Cowichan, British Columbia. We would like to thank the Sabots First Nations for sharing their land with us. Motion, do we need to approve the agenda? Okay, so we'd like to bring you guys up first.
Okay.
To do a presentation.
We don't really have much of a presentation,
Okay.
so we won't take up much of your
Okay.
time. You've heard from us enough that you know who we are.
That's one.
Okay, actually, we've actually just been looking into a few ways of helping fund the municipality, our town, with our bear problem and wildlife problem, actually.
Can I just
Yep.
stop for a sec? Could you just give your name?
Oh,
and
okay.
who you're
Do I have to face a certain way or can I face you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Vicky Pose and I'm with the Lake Cowichan Bear Aware Association. And I think this is our fourth time standing up in front of you all. We've been chatting with other bear aware groups and we know that there's government funding for helping our little town to keep our bear town safe. So I just want to just quickly go over what we would like to see in the future. We just like I'll just read this because it makes more sense. I'd like to present the following items for budgetary consideration to be implemented over the next 1 to 5 years. Our goal is to become a bear smart community, and that will require some positive changes to how we manage our garbage waste. The town's own bylaws require bear-resistant containers and/or bear-proof storage for all residential, commercial, and public spaces. So we're looking for funding either for our group to work with you or for the town to do this themselves, for signs to be posted throughout town in areas of high bear activity. And other bear smart towns do this. They say it works really well. And actually Scott of Conservation said it works really well as to just remind people to put their garbage away. Funding for educational materials such as brochures, door hangers, and bin tags. WildSafe has now got a coordinator for our area and we've already been in touch with them. They're going to work with us. So we can go out with the WildSafe people and do the educational part. A little more funding for a bylaw officer to actively patrol waste management infractions, including the enforcement of commercial properties. We've been walking around ourselves and taking pictures of things that are not compliant. Funding, and this will probably be the most expensive thing, to replace inadequate public waste containers within the town of Lake Cowichan to large bear-resistant containers. Quite a few other towns like Nelson, Fort Hardy, Bamfield, they're all working towards this and they're all trying to find affordable containers. It's a problem for everyone and the government is willing to help on this, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. So we're researching that as well. So we'll share our research with you on that. We would like in the future maybe to look at the purchase of affordable locking residential organic bins, maybe not both garbage, but we need to get the organic ones so that they're locked. Maybe some funding set aside for preventing human-wildlife conflicts, similar to other BC municipalities. We look at Bob getting hit in Yubo. It's the same kind of thing. We need to start to worry about all wildlife, not just the bears. And funding or support for us to educate the residents on the benefits of separating their organics from the regular garbage. We learned that at the last meeting. It costs more to send our garbage down to Washington. We need to start, separating it. When I heard only 4 out of 10 households separate their garbage, we got a problem. We need to teach people. That's basically it. As I said, our executive has researched opportunities for grant funding and government support. We are talking actively with the ministry on a one-to-one basis, so they know who we are now. I know that the CVRD received 1.9 million, and they're using some of it for residential garbage education, so maybe we can tap into a little of their funding. And I think that's about it. In ending, this seems to be an awful way to end it, but it says by working together, we can ensure Lake Cowichan doesn't become the bear killing capital of the island, which I think we are at the moment. If Port Hardy and Banfield and Port Alberni can bring theirs down to no killings, we can do the same. They're just in the same position as us. Anyway, that's it. So I'm done with you guys. You can have the information. I didn't do one for everybody.
We'll make copies for everybody.
And I attached, I got our bylaws out and I'm just making sure all the things that had to do with wildlife. So that's in there as well. And Joe, we aren't gonna forget you again too. Okay.
Does the council have any questions?
Well, I think we are getting signs, are we not? Yeah, no?
We've, ones you sent, we're just getting pricing on.
So I got Leon's to develop a Bearware sign,
Good.
2 signs, and I got one, I'm getting one made so that I can take it to the health fair on next
perfect.
Thursday
Okay.
with some Bearware type of things.
Yep.
And I did ask Wildlife what a case of brochures cost, but they haven't told me yet. Have you
You know-
gotten a price?
I don't think they've got a price yet because they're trying to see the cheapest price they can get them done.
Yeah, it's just expensive, because I noticed in their expenses here, it says shipping and materials is only 197, so.
Ah, okay.
And when I looked today, they didn't have anybody for our area, but they do now?
They do now. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay,
yes, they
good.
do.
Anything
Yeah.
else? Councillor Christie?
I know that brochures for 250 would cost you $125. As I just ordered some yesterday.
Oh, that's
So
good.
there's a 2-sided
Okay, yeah.
rack cut.
Yeah, we got some from the fur bearers, the door hanger ones that if the one you hang it on the door, if something on its home, you can just leave it on their door.
Those are good ones.
They're good, so they sent us a whole stack of those, so
Well,
that's,
that's even
that's a
better than the
start.
whole brochure, some people just
Yeah.
put them away.
Anyone else? Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
All right.
And we will take these
okay.
comments and whatnot into our budget discussions.
Okay, and as I said, we will give you any research that we find on helping save some money, we'll pass it on.
Thank you so much.
I don't know. I was just wondering, when did all the budgeting, when does it end?
When does it get
Never.
decided?
Never? Okay.
For this round?
Soon,
Soon?
by May 15th, you have to have it all in.
All right.
Yeah, probably a couple more sections. But
Okay. All right then. Very good.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
for coming. Thank you for all you do.
Okay. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
So on the agenda, number 2, plan carries 5 years. Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, that, the 5 years will be forthcoming.
Okay.
After we've got through that.
Okay, so coming, all right, thank you. So for our preliminary budget, we're going to go to 3A, general operating and capital budget. So where would we like to start?
Well, we could start, basically the details of it.
Okay. Skip.
That's page, well, we've actually done this already.
So we've done the
Page,
general.
page 3 is the capital, which is where I think Tim left off
Okay.
last meeting.
Page 3.
Okay, so
So this page is broken out by the different areas, general, fire department, public works, Lakeview Park and Park, so if we want to go through that, we can. Let me go through it. So in the general, this year we require an insurance, an appraisal of our assets for insurance purposes, so we've budgeted $10,000 for that. Computer equipment is normal equipment replacement. The Emergency Operations Center is $120,000. There is grant funding that goes against that. Office equipment, that is not equipment, it's furniture for council chambers here, and we do have designs that are in the works, so that includes all the audio, video, and us, and the desks and everything that would go in there. The Mildred Child area upgrades is the parking lot and the trail that we want to build over to the footbridge. So that's all in there. Museum painting, they came in with a request for, actually they have for a couple of years come in for a request for painting there, so that's budgeted for 10,000. The parking study is in there for 25,000, although.
I can add to that. Back in 2017, the city of Duncan undertook a similar study. And so I thought I'd just check, I thought I'd use their RFP to, you know, as our model to go forward. And so I think if we were doing a study, it should not just include the downtown area, it should also include the uptown area, both areas. So that would be similar to what Duncan kind of did. So they went out with a proposal call. And they budgeted way less than the project came in at. And the quotes were between 53,900 to almost $60,000. And staff took it back to council, and council refused to authorize that, the additional expenditure. So I basically what I'm saying is 25,000 is not going to do it. I think you may want to look at it higher than.
Mayor McGonigal?
I think given the population of Duncan comparative to ours and the infrastructure within the city of Duncan comparatively, I think that maybe this for 30,000 would be something appropriate, similar to what we had set aside last year for the transportation study. I would hope that we could increase it to 30, put it out for RFP, not stating that, and see what comes back in the quotes for that study. If it means that the first portion be the uptown focus, then we could split them into two groups. Given that the concentration of summertime traffic is within the uptown core, as opposed to the downtown core. The downtown core is more focused towards business orientation and has significant parking available within the country grocery itself at the moment. But it's totally up to this body. I would move that we increase it to 30.
I can have a seconder. I'll second Councilor Austin. Any more discussion?
And if I can carry on with that, within the RFP, if we can state the first priority is to look at the uptown and downtown. With the alternative of focusing on the two studies if need be. seeing what the votes come back for the full one, we can then discuss whether or not we would like to focus on that portion for sure.
Any further discussion? Call the question? Oh, sorry, yeah, that's right. I'd like to see the uptown first because that's most congested with the parking issues. To do both on at once. If we kind of resolve that problem, I don't see why we would do principal and put money out there for something we don't know exists. Rather, that's just my personal on that. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I do have some questions on the ones that have already been. Broke, yeah, if I can. First of all, in the asset retirement obligations, we budgeted last year $25,000, nothing was expended. And I see nothing in asset retirement obligations this year budgeted. Would that come at a later date after the asset appraisal?
No, I've been working on it myself. I've done it in-house.
Okay, so within the asset retirement obligations of last year, there was nothing expended within the budget.
Correct,
So that was where those are in the surplus.
correct.
By name. Mildred Child Area upgrades. Does that include the Otaki footbridge?
Yeah, that includes the walkway.
It's 400,000 on the child, it's significant.
I know, it's, because we're also looking at the rain garden. Trees and plants, so it doesn't just look like a parking lot.
No, absolutely.
I mean, it might come down for much less,
Right,
but we could, parking lots, the one at, Arena costs quite a bit,
right.
so.
So if it includes, Travis either working on their public works, employees working on their preparing it. Some of the vegetations. Invasive blackberries. But if it includes the Otaki footbridge, some improvements there, I think.
No.
No, not the footbridge.
It's on a separate list.
That's a separate part.
That does seem like.
Okay, maybe just.
What it does include, one of the things Joseph said, we still have to put flagpoles up. Oh, for the building here, we don't have flagpoles, we don't have a garbage container. Containment area, we gotta build it.
No, sounds good. Thank you.
So just to follow up on that, can we sharpen that number up at all? Do you think that's really right?
It's up there, but we'd rather, it's probably gonna come in lower than that, but. See, one of the things over there, the parking lot is a bit of an unknown with the ground. We're gonna redo the whole parking lot, you can see the rest of it's failing, and it's due to ground conditions on it.
And if I may, so this path that goes to the footbridge, we've got approval to go behind the Telus building.
That was done 20 years ago, I think, that's why they had to set up fence set back.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I ask Superintendent what if we're gonna put a walkway through here with the intent, what is the plans for, security? And lighting?
We haven't done that. Right now, I don't think the walkway, I don't think it's gonna come behind the building, just from, the Savvy to the parking lot.
Councilor Frisbee?
And the 400,000, that's not coming from any grant money, is it? It's
No.
just coming from taxpayers?
Yes,
It's surplus and, yeah.
Anything utilized in the community works fund.
if any left, yes.
Some of the rain gardens and that might be able to, we have to look at exactly what happens there.
Thank you. That's all I have on general.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah.
So we did review the collect budget last meeting. I'm not sure if there's any further questions or if there's anything that council would. has questions on it or would like us to elaborate on.
I can actually start off with a comment if you don't mind. The alternate heat source have a third opinion and we'll have a price this week. And it looks more doable and it won't be, it's probably more realistic to look at the first figure that we had in 2023. And I wish I would have had that figure by today, but you didn't provide it, so it looks interesting.
Yes, on that note, would you be comfortable reducing that to 50,000?
For sure, given what the contractor just said, I think that that's something that's more than doable.
Just take that into consideration, staff, if it does come in more than that we alter this budget to reflect
Oh,
that. And on the next meeting, we can have that
Yeah.
further discussion for clarification.
I
I don't
definitely
think
will
we
have
can
it for the next
approve
meeting.
the budget today, we're gonna need a couple more sessions, if there's more discussion to be had. We haven't moved or approved any capital projects yet. Still within the discussion stage. Thank you, Madam Chair, or should it be just chair? I was, at CBRD today doing governance committee. Chair Segal insisted that she not be addressed as Madam Chair, so I'm just wondering how to do that.
Whatever you want. I'm easy going.
Thank you, Chair.
You're so welcome.
Well, you know what I'm mad at him, so then that's probably.
What?
Hey, you got one.
Don't call me a word, then I won't call you.
Thank you, okay, sorry, yes.
So when, Mayor McGonigal was talking about the possible reduction of 15,000. And I'm just always looking at the ice machine and the mattresses and other budgeted items that keep going by the wayside.
No, we purchased the ice machine and the mattresses. That's already been done.
Okay, it's been budgeted,
It was-
but no actual.
2023.
So they've both been purchased?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not showing an actual, so.
It does not because they don't meet the thresholds for capitalization. So now that we're looking at this, yeah, they were purchased, but they've been moved for year-end purposes for audit. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the fire department budget was already reviewed by council before it was forwarded to the CBRD. The largest item on that budget is the aerial truck, which may or may not happen for $60,000. Are there any questions on that?
Just on the aerial truck, it's gonna cost a lot more than that, I think, isn't it? So what's the idea?
This is a used aerial truck, so, yeah, he's come across a couple, but he didn't like the state they were in, so.
Right.
This is a number that the fire chief felt he was comfortable.
Cause I thought, correct, I thought previously there was like $200,000 number thrown at it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he was looking at a truck that was certified. This would not be certified, I think,
Oh.
but I'm not sure. We'd have to double check with him, but it is an older truck, that's why it's cheaper.
Any questions, further questions on fire department? Okay. Public Works,
Public Works, I don't know if you want Jazz to do that one or if you want to do it.
You go ahead and then.
Sure.
Question.
Okay. So we're looking at equipment purchases of $250,000. That is-
Before we carry on.
That, multi-use, one-ton truck with a hook on it, a crane on it, and a plow truck. So it'll be a multi-use truck that we could spread several different things. Our old tree truck is just about done, so we're gonna get another train truck, so we'll just try to purchase it all in one and multi-use.
So that budget's coming from the equipment reserve. And then the annual paving program, 300,000. I think the superintendent has a list of areas he was looking at. Couch and Avenue drainage, 60,000. And then we're looking at the truck shed roof for 150,000, and the Public Works Office building for 500,000.
If I can ask, so the Public Works Office building upgrade, that's from the funds we received last year?
Going.
Going community center.
Will the shed cover, the roof cover them too?
Yes.
Both of them? Okay.
Yeah. And the recycling totes, which have been mostly purchased, 200,000. Sidewalks, 50,000, small tools, 5,000, and the stormwater planning study is budgeted at 15,000, which is also partly covered by grant.
Any questions? Question from Rebecca?
To the superintendent, I think you spoke on it before about the commercial totes for recycling.
Yeah.
That's gonna be down the road.
No, we're working on it right now. Some have been delivered as we're just working through. There's some little things to iron out at certain places, so we don't want to be delivering them until we get the issues ironed out first.
And that's in that $200,000 budget is
It is.
commercial and residential.
Mayor McConnell?
Thank you very much, and I know this sounds like a broken record, but, the ornamental garbage cans throughout town and the interest on upgrading them to better resistant cans, whether that meets the capital threshold or the operation. First step through to the finance director.
Depend on how many you do and what the costs are.
So we were doing it incrementally, in the problematic areas, for instance. And that area was a problematic area. King George was a problematic area, which was removed. If we could implement that within the yearly system on a number of those that we upgrade per year, then that would mitigate some of the wildlife interactions that we spoken about prior. Given that some people try to utilize that for their household. And with the bear resistant ones, I think that would negate some of that. With these ornamental ones, the lids just get ripped off because they're loose aluminum and quite easy to get into. So I'm gonna continue on this until we can implement some of those bear resistant ones.
So we did purchase a couple of in-ground bear resistant ones. One's been installed at just the lid we swapped over. So if you go look at that, the bear resistant one, yes, it has a hook. The bear can't open it up. But the door on is larger than what we've had, so it even allows people to put more houses in garbage in. So I gotta try to come up with something a little bit different, I don't know.
So if I may continue, that was implementing just the lid, though. If we can look at something similar to Whistler or Port Harding, that style, it's a square box, or in all the rest stops, you know,
Up the park, so brown ones like.
Yeah. If we can look and price those and just bring back an idea of A, how much for one, and then how we can implement that program throughout the winter. Yes, throughout town. I'd be interested in the.
So what we're asking is that be brought back to our next budget meeting?
Investigate the costing of her, and then we can decide whether we want to implement that operationally or what to retaliate with. Thank you, Madam Chair or Chair.
Any further questions? Okay, Ms. Gill, Lakeview Park,
Oh, one more also.
Mayor McConnell.
On the annual paving program, you'll bring back your list.
I can tell you right now,
Let's hear
Poplar. And then a part of Sapling there, we're breaking down, and, hopefully.
it. Hopefully between McDonald and Eva. Good. Good. And following up on that, the infrastructure, water and sewer, is that along that roadway or in the back end?
No, it's along that way, but there, it's outside of the asphalt. So we're not gonna upgrade it into the water line yet, so do the paving. When we get around to water there, we don't have to dig up the road.
Thank you.
Ms. Gill, Lakeview Park.
Next is the Lakeview Park budget. We discussed the sign there for $10,000 last meeting. The electrical upgrades for $7,000. The washrooms are being currently constructed, $85,000. And resurfacing, campsites, gravel and sand, sort of an annual, is budgeted at $5,000. And roofing is $15,000.
I just have a question just regarding, the road, paving going like off of South Shore, going into, when you turn onto Lakeview Road. What are you, like, when? what's it called?
You want-
Grading.
Grading?
Yeah, there wasn't much done last year, and I'm just wondering if that will be a problem this year.
Okay, a lot of it depends on timing and how much rain we get, don't get, and so we do as much as possible. Last year, we had, the Glenadale subdivision was doing some of the grading actually, because they were responsible for making a big mess.
Yeah.
This year, they're not involved. Don't think they'll be involved in this. And so hopefully it'll be a little bit better, but if it's too dry, we can't do it. And it's too wet, so we try and do as much as possible.
And then what about
People
that
can-
oil, there's that oil stuff or whatnot that,
We had that done last year, yeah, the surfacing that we got.
That's,
that's,
Yeah, dust control is from, it's an ocean product of some sort. And I don't know if we'll get that again or not. We don't use it anymore. Yeah, it's about $5,000.
just for the campsite, not for the road.
Yeah, just for the campsite, the entrance as your first turn. So that gets done and hopefully we'll be doing that again. I mean, to wait for the appropriate time because we do it too much in advance, let it wash away. And we can't do it when it's just dry.
Mayor McGonigal.
And for next year, if you're still around with us, can you bring back some budget estimates on electrifying additional sites within Lakeview, at what cost that would be, if you don't mind? An updated list and
My pleasure.
whether how many would be accommodated in a second phase, for instance. Those are a good return on investment from the initial capital outlay as to how you recoup those costs. I think it's the ROI is about 3 years, so. Just, I would like an update on that, whether or not that would be in the future budget discussion.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If I may.
You may.
So during our initial budget direction, we had hoped to have a tiered system of what was vetted by the senior management team, approved and presented to us. And if anything had been brought forward by the department on additional capital projects that might have been within your purview that did not get approved. Were there any this year from either department that did not meet the vetting process?
Nothing from my side.
So we're-
I mean, I have lots of dreams. But I
So
know,
those are what I want to hear.
I know what's realistic. And of course, with the Canada situation, we will be dreaming more openly in the next years.
And I don't want to compare our budget process to any other jurisdiction, but it's helpful to get a list of what senior management team feels is appropriate for taxation moving forward in capital and operation. And what the wish list of improving service would be in either operation, all three of them. What would be the impact of that within the budget for our consideration moving forward? And I know we don't have control as much on some of the topics as others, but it would be interesting just for the budget process to have some sort of idea of what the current budget approval is, what the wish list is, and what could be accommodated within those two by juggling some of the numbers of them. So we give a directive on what we would feel is appropriate for a decrease in percentages, we can utilize that within municipalities because we're generalists. Within a regional district, that's difficult with 178 functions. When you look at a percentage amount of 19.33, everyone panics. But 19.33% is not impactful to the whole regional district, depending on the functions and what functions you participate in. So municipalities can use percentages because it's easy to break that down. Regional districts, it just causes grief in percentage numbers, and most regional districts don't do that. If you look at our increase this year, it's double-digit percentage increase for CBRD functions that we participate in, but only a $76 increase for the average household in the Cowichan. So we will get a better number when we finalize our budget on what the impact will be within the residences that we have. Thank you for letting me do that, Renat.
If I can backtrack just for a second.
Yeah.
Things like the one from Walkway and the Bayview Park, that's not a dead deal. Like, I want to keep pursuing that in different ways. A nicer walkway at the education center, there's no use putting it in the budget. It's better for, council to rely on us to try and get those funds on an ongoing basis. So we'd like to improve the waterfront at the education center as well. So there's no use putting things in that they're not realistic. That's why we took out the amount when we realized we didn't get that particular grant because it was oversubscribed. So it's a bit different than a wish list setting.
Yeah, and no disparaging remark was intended on any part. I just like the process of knowing what's coming down the pipe. We can have a 2-year or a 3, and I know the 5-year draft to show us that, but this is the year that we work on. The others are just projections, but those projections are helpful when we itemize our capital projects in that 5-year plan. Thanks.
I was just gonna add personally that I think if we were gonna do like a one-on-one and a wish list and a want list, whatnot, we should have had that structure in place before we started budget discussions. Because here we are now, meeting number 2, basically we could pass a budget tonight. So my point is, I think hindsight, I personally would say, let's look at it next year and set it up accordingly ahead of time, so that we're all on the same page, how we want to move forward with budget discussions, and this way, it's just this way for this year. Mr. Fernandez.
Yeah, if I can speak to it. In previous years, we were financially constrained. So we would come up with a wish list and we had to take out stuff. This is the first year we didn't have to do that. Everybody's wish list basically is included. So there was nothing that was taken out other than the walkway, which was the grant dependent. So we've got everything here and nobody was told to take anything out.
I appreciate that. No, thank you.
Anything further on Lakeview? So our next is parks. Ms. Gill?
Okay, so Centennial Park, we're budgeting for bleachers and concrete slabs there, $25,000. Centennial Park washrooms, brand new facility there for $235,000. Footbridge improvements, $103,000. Kasapi Park upgrades, $50,000. Riverside Park improvements for $13,000, and Trails Edge, which is a new park, for $15,000. Any questions?
Any questions regarding anything on parks? Councilor Austin?
Trails Edge Park, where exactly is that?
Well, you develop
Your house,
to your place.
I didn't see a park there.
there's a piece of property there that we got.
On the corner?
Yeah, it was given to us from Parkland.
Oh, cool.
Subdivision was done.
Oh, good.
So we better start in.
Well, that'll be nice to have it right there. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Ms. B?
That's figure of 235 for the Centennial Park washroom, was that on target, I think? Was that a quoted price that we received for that washroom?
That was a quote we received.
And if I may, it's not just a washroom. Concession.
Concession, water, storage, and a covered area.
Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you very much, Chair Sandu. The Savvy Park upgrades, I know that was gifted to us either as a community building or if it was demolished, it would be a park. That was within the granting opportunity. Is there still an option for some parking in the Savvy?
That's what we're looking at, but I gotta go over that with Joe because there is some restrictions, what we can do with that when it was gifted to us.
Or allowed parking in parks. So, can we implement Kasapi into the parking study if that is an option? It's in the uptown core. If there is a need for some overflow parking, for instance, maybe that's something to look at within that study, just something to think.
Well, with this, the money we budgeted, we can't do the whole park anyway, so it'd be probably half of that property will get done this year.
That would be an incremental.
Cause I gotta keep a roadway in there anyways, we got a water main under the river most of it. And also we have a power pole and stuff, so that we keep access into there, it can't be able to.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I can mention another comment, you know, I've said this a few times and some you probably remember, at the end of Point Ideal Road. It's a long way away from town, but as we get bigger and bigger and more tourism, we've got that very end part beside the marina. That is a big field. And it would be ideal for parking. And it's something that I think should be considered as well. When you're thinking of parking, because there's nothing there.
Ms. Gill?
Those two pages conclude the general fund, capital expenses. We've reviewed the operational expenses last meeting. And we did go through the water and sewer funds last meeting. But, we would be open to any questions or input that someone would have.
Mayor McGonigal.
I'll start. So my intent was to go through the capital portion and to see if any council members had some ideas of what they would like to see implemented, whether it's not in this budget year, but so that it can be incorporated into the 5-year plan. So we have directed staff to look at bear resistant garbage cans, for instance. Perhaps not for this year, just getting the pricing, but we can get that price and then implement it into the 5-year plan and capital if that's the way we're going to play. So I was hoping that some members of council had other ideas and what they would like to see incorporated, if not this year, then within a 5-year plan. So we can update that 5-year plan or into what directive we give from the state. So I have the bear resistant cans, for instance. So I want to see that implemented to reduce some of the wildlife interactions. And it's not just bears, I mean, it's not raccoons, whatever. And then moving forward, see how we can financially improve way incorporate that. And I'm pleased that we're doing some residential paving. I think that if you go on Google Maps and look at Poplar, you will see the state of that road is quite disrepair. Oak Lane similarly to that connector. And those are small incremental improvements that go a long way to the citizens of the community that see the brick and mortars, for instance. When other options would page or whatever portions that we did, those improvements were greatly appreciated. Wider sidewalks, et cetera, that have been placed in front of here. The accessibility of this building is much better than it was before. So I was just hoping that we can get that discussion implemented in the 5 years. If not today, then at the next budget. And within that, if I may, Chair, given that we've increased our service to incorporate in-house recycling, for instance, what is the impact on Public Works Department by bringing that in-house and adding that to the schedule of programs and you say, and what would be needed in the future if we looked at expanding. So not tonight, but are we staffed enough to bring other services within, whether it's emergency management or whether it's emergency preparedness? We are constantly being downloaded on with limited capacity. Whether it's recycling or whatever aspect that we take on voluntarily or from the top down. Do we have enough people? That is not for today, but just for future discussion.
Anybody else?
That is an overview of the entire general sewer and water fund, both operational capital budgets. I have nothing more to add. Do you have anything to say?
Can we, while we're at it, can you go back to water capital just briefly?
Sure.
If you don't mind?
Yeah.
Review. You're a superintendent. Is there a timing issue for approving this capital portion to get that RFP on the water main design?
The watering design, you guys have already approved that.
Approved
That
what?
was pre-budget.
Just one, just one.
Not from the main system? was
Not
it?
from the main
Yeah.
system.
Right, and that's the one in question.
I haven't put it out yet, so we should be fine if we can get it approved by the end of this month. We'll be close, I think, anyways.
That was my hope that we.
Yeah, and I think that's a guesstimate, right? The 200.
Yeah. Oh, the design is 100,000.
The other part.
Councilor Frisbee?
No, previously, excuse me, I know previously we've spoken about the, having a sidewalk from the Weir area to the pathway to nowhere on the Subat's land. And we were talking about getting the engineer that did that walkway to look at engineering for that. Is that something that's in the plans or in the works or in the vision at all?
We have talked about it, discussed it, but we haven't got into any point of design. I'm hoping that we can tap in and work together with the First Nations on that, but I've talked to Aaron a few times. And maybe we can get some grant money or something and help us on.
The reason why I ask is that I was in a meeting with the Minister of Tourism and all that, and they are looking at pathways and grant funding for that, so that we can get that transport going. And the direction was that the shovel ready ones are gonna get funding, and the funding may pop up soon. So is that something we want to look at in this budget cycle to get the engineering done on there, at least?
You could, if that's what you guys. If they're looking for shovel ready stuff, yeah, we haven't done anything.
Because I'm thinking if the weir does come across in the next couple of years and we can get a walkway on there, the connectivity between there and the First Nation, that would kind of solidify it. So I think it's important either this year or next year to have a plan in place for that walkway.
I should clarify that a walkway is not in the current year plan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what I brought up. So that was one of the points that I brought forward, that there is a whole plan to have it, so that there's a active transportation. But my point was with the First Nation in Lakeview, currently there's no safe way to get from those things, even though we do have the main festivals and a lot of development going on there. So that was one point that I brought up, that if we can get a walkway across that area and then we can connect it all, because if we can get a walkway through there, it's going to cut down a lot of the traffic for the festival weekends. And also there's going to be a lot of tourism on First Nation land now, because they will be allowed Airbnb. So if we can kind of connect that all, I know the year's a couple of years off, but we shouldn't be planning to connect with it.
If I, no, I was just gonna say, if I may, that I think that staff should actually look further, with the CVRD caution charts and whatnot, with the plans aware and whatnot, and get an idea, just because I'm just concerned putting a study out, but there's gonna be no walkway from, like, it's at least 2 years away for shovel ready for the weir, at least 2 years. So just my concern is, I support this, and I think we do need that, but I'm just concerned with utilizing funds right now for that.
And in the interim, it would be our job as elected officials to seek further funding for the active transportation portion that's mentioned. See the others that got in, to incorporate the missing funds for that. I know the province came through recently with the 14 million to do the whole capital storage portion, but within the initial public consultation, the number one priority was a walkway over that structure and connectivity, not only to Burns Trail, but to the First Nations portion. And it was the feeling of the Subasa people that was an indicator of supporting that subject, and whether or not that comes to fruition on not supporting it is another question, but regardless, it will be that. And the connectivity ties into our active transportation plan that we have approved, implemented, and have it within our strategic plan. So if we can look at least putting that within the 5-year plan, if it's not this year, because we are 2 or 3 years out from the near shovel-ready project, and in the interim, we can lobby and ask for additional funds for that walkway. It would not be difficult to add that in post-construction as an add-on. But that's just my thoughts.
Sorry, Councillor Frisbee.
And if obviously we can't control what's going on in the new weir, but I know that one of the residents have come and said how unsafe it is to walk down that road. So even if it's not from the weir, maybe it's from the footbridge. I don't know what footbridge, because that river road comes right down. If we can have it from River Road onwards, I mean, it's gotta be, we've got to have something.
And I think there has been initial investigation by a previous superintendent on which side of the road that would be appropriately placed, whether it was north and south. Given that First Nation has implemented it on the south side, that would be logical. You would run into difficulty up by the intake, the water intake, that would be a pinch point, for instance, and in front of the problems just by the weir. But if we can incorporate that as far as is feasibly possible, then we've taken care of some of that safety issue and some of that active transportation portion. Something to maybe look at in the project.
Mr. Smith?
I actually still have information that we looked at that exact plan years ago, in a partnership with the First Nation Lake Ocean to do that same walkway that you're talking about. And it did start from here, and it went to the footbridge. And at the time, the weir was not being discussed as far as crossing over it. It was during the time of the King George roundabout. And then we had an application in, joint application in the town that I wrote with First Nations, and it was decided to go the roundabout approach instead. Some of you may remember that. First Nations were not very happy with us, but I still have that information I'll pass on to Jazz. It's not necessarily engineered properly as it should be in the future, but it does have a lot of the parameters and money, even projections of money at the time. Yeah.
So Madam Chair, we could ask that information be forwarded to the superintendent.
Sure.
Also, discussion with Mr. Hamilton or Melanie or whoever on who is utilized in the engineering of that process.
Yeah.
And we can get an idea of that project.
Yeah, the jury is on Rick Stinson, that was the name of the fellow who did the application with me.
Be interested to see what the cost of that.
Pass it on.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So do we want to then go to grant and aid requests? Would that be the last item on the agenda?
So does everyone have a page that shows their grant aid requests for 2024? So far, you've committed to a $1,000 scholarship for LCS. The budget as previous years is 3,000. And there are 4 other requests. One from BC Conservation Foundation for $1,000. The second one is from the Couch and Lake River Stewardship for $350. Lake Couch and Bearware, who is here today, for $500. And Take a Hike Foundation for $1,500. That group is coming as a delegation to the April 9th Committee of the Whole meeting. So I don't know if council wants to wait to have their discussion, or if they want to have some discussion now and someday. That's entirely up to you.
Councillor Austin?
Yes, I contacted the principal of the high school. And she said the Take a Hike program is amazing. I've seen it in action in Duncan, because she is from Duncan. Many students thrive in the program. It's definitely something that Lake Cochin could use. Currently, she said there were a few they were sending from Lake Cochin to Duncan. It looks like a good project. Community Services did not know anything about it at all, which I thought they'd be great in on that, knowing about that. So it seems like a valuable thing. I think it's something we need to think about before we give a full grant of that kind of money, though. We don't have enough anyway in 3,000. So if you get the 1,000 to the scholarship, that's only 2 left, right? Can we not divide up the scholarships like Councillor Sandu had said, and maybe have them in a different budget? Could we not do that, or is that, we want that underground?
I was just presenting them here so it was known exactly what's been committed from the town for entirety, but.
Well, I think firsthand, we should look at, do we want to increase the grant and aid budget? It's been, how many years has it been 3,000?
It's been 3,000 for some time now.
Okay, so I just think we should start there. And then decide to what, to 4,000? Let's have a discussion there. Actually, Councilor Frisbee, this is kind of just.
I was just bringing this up because this was being presented to us because you did bring it up last time to see if we should increase it, so I was just.
So on that merit, I would like to see these scholarships removed from the grant and aid process and implemented into a line item under general government, if you wish, or wherever you wish to put it. And increase it from 1 scholarship to 2, not for this year, because the application process is already. But increasing that to 2 $1,000 scholarships to reside outside of the grant and aid process, and then leave the grant and aid at the $3,000. That way we have increased scholarships, as was your idea. There's a number of organizations within the community that give significantly more grant scholarships than we, and that's nothing disparaging. We do get, as is indicated, 12 applications. I think we need to take into consideration not just academic, but financial need as well in the next step too. So that would be my suggestion, that we increase the scholarships. I will move that we increase the scholarships for next year to 2 $1,000 scholarships, and that they be removed from the grant and aid request process.
A seconder, Councilor Volanta, any further discussion? All the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And for this year, that it reside within the past policy and we implement whatever we decide. We're needing $2,000.
You want to make that a motion? Or?
No, I think
This is
that's,
what you're.
as we go through this
Okay.
year's process, perhaps if we had a hindsight of 2020. If we had a maybe implemented this prior to the budget discussions, it could have been implemented into the process that. If the applications for scholarships are already in the works, we're in March, scholarships are then. well,
May.
Scholarships will be finalized pretty soon for the process.
Joseph?
Was there no change in this year's numbers then?
So this year we'll keep it at 3,000 and 1,000, the scholarship will come out of the grant aid for 2024. And then next year it'll be separate.
You
So then there'll be
increasing?
$2,000 left remaining in the 2024 grant aid budget.
Yeah, so next year you up it by 1,000 each.
So there'll be two 1,000 scholarships. And then-
Remove from the grant and aid
Yeah.
portion, place it in the general government,
And the grant and they
grant and aid stays at 3,000.
go, yeah, so it goes up 1,000.
Great, considering that we're moving.
So you're increasing it by 2,000. The total, between the two.
Yes.
Totally, yes.
Councillor
So just for clarification, wouldn't it have to be in this year's budget because we're gonna run the same application timeline?
If it's implemented into the policy, I feel that we have at least incorporated that into our financials for next year. So by having the motion duly moved and seconded and endorsed, then that will be implemented into the budget process.
And, oh, go ahead.
I mentioned it, the other last budget meeting as well, and what the mayor is saying about, academics and need or something. My suggestion would be something, maybe, water treatment, sewer treatment, for the people we need.
And we can do
We've
that.
got good jobs right here, if somebody wants to go into that training,
You can put that
we
in.
can support them, that'd be great.
No, sounds good.
Councillor Austin?
Well, I had written down what I thought we could do with that, with the 2,000. This is just me. I thought maybe 500 to the BC conservation. 250 to the stewardship, because I think they did get money last year as well. 250 to the Bear Aware. And 500 to the Take a Hike, or don't do anything and take a hike until you talk to them and see what happens. That's just what I have, but everybody can figure out what they think we like to do.
Councillor Lamar? Just a question to, Ms. Gill. So all the ones that sent in their request, did they send in all the appropriate, like the word, financials and paperwork?
Well, the only organization that isn't an organization, well, Lake Cowichan Bearware is not an organization, so they just had a letter. And they're okay if we buy
We buy the
the
materials.
materials
ourselves.
and then just.
As
pass it
long
on
as
to
we
them.
allocate a number to them, we will be doing our first. Well,
Thank you. Mayor McGonigal?
I think that we, don't make the decisions on the grant needs today, that we wait for the presentation at the next meeting, and then we can vet those numbers that Councillor Austin has suggested, and then we come back with the power breakdown of what might be appropriate after that presentation. I personally would like to see the Bearware funded, the amount that they requested, but that's just.
So we'll bring that back to the next budget.
To the next committee of the whole or the next budget, because they're coming to.
Committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one can do that.
And then after that, President, if I may.
Yeah.
Chair, Senator. After that delegation, then that would tie into the, perhaps the next budget.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
No,
No.
future meetings.
Future meetings, yes.
Can we do one the Thursday prior to ASC?
No, I won't be here. I'm going down early, sorry.
So I can do it myself.
You can do it yourself.
Could we do it before our committee of the whole this coming week? Like, or I say 3:30
Except you've got the one delegation.
at 5,
But
but could we not do an hour?
or just do one. Yeah, no, you can, but I thought you wanted to grant an 8.
Oh, because the Grand Day is will be part of that.
It is, I would.
We could do the rest of the Grand Day and just leave the take a hike and make sure there's money left.
Or, here's a suggestion, why don't we take it back to the budget meeting at the conclusion of the committee of the whole? Committee of the whole doesn't look like a large agenda.
Okay.
Do it after.
And we'll do it after. Okay, that's a better.
Of Delegation presentation for our consideration. For the budget. And maybe if there's nothing else coming forward from the table on what you would like to see in one of these, in the 5-year plan, for instance, that we can maybe finalize it after the committee motion.
Sure. Does that work for staff?
Yeah, so what is it you need for the meeting?
For the committee of the whole.
Yeah, but no, after the budget, for the budget meeting.
So the implementation of some costing on the fair resistant garbage can replacement program that could be implemented in the 5-year plan. The percentage increase on the parking study, for instance, to update that percentage number. And I think the other one was conducive to what happens with the First Nation and the engineering portion on those numbers, where that could be implemented in the 5-year plan. So I think we'll have to wait for that.
And maybe you want to look at the 5-year plan too.
Yes,
And then basically wrap it up.
yes. If you don't mind? Yeah.
Motion to adjourn? Councilor Austin, second here, Councilor Frisbee, all in favor, carried. I know, it's not fasting.
Thank you, Madam Chair.